Will DeMar DeRozan be traded to the Los Angeles Clippers? Will Zach LaVine be heading to the Philadelphia 76ers? We're going to be talking about some possible sign and trades that have been rumored out there and what this would mean for the Chicago Bulls. This is Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. And before we jump into it, want to let you know that 75.1% of you guys that go and watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest news and happenings around your Chicago Bulls. And without further ado, let's jump into the topic of the day here, which is, will LaVine and DeMar be traded? All right, guys. And so there is a bunch of rumors out there that have DeMar DeRozan heading to the Los Angeles Clippers and also to Zach LaVine heading to the Philadelphia 76ers. And it should be noted that these would be sign and trade deals, and this is going to be really contingent on what Paul George is going to do. So Paul George is really the domino here that is going to be the deciding factor if a trade is done. All right. And this is mainly if the Clippers cannot bring Paul George back, then they're going to want to get DeMar DeRozan over there. And then for the Philadelphia 76ers, they have a ton of cap room, and they are reportedly looking at Paul George and want to bring him over there. If they miss, then there is a rumor that Zach LaVine would be an option that they would actually want to explore. And so let's start with the 76ers, all right? And I think that this is the best case scenario as a Chicago Bulls fan, is them striking out and them wanting Zach LaVine, all right? And I think the Sixers would be the team that would have us not attach assets for Zach LaVine. And I think even more important, the Sixers would be willing to move over draft capital. And I say that because their vice president of basketball operations has done this already 2 times before. All right, guys. And so this is what I'm talking about here. All right. So when we look at what Daryl Morey has done before, look, this is the package that he put together for Harden to come over from the Brooklyn Nets. You're looking at a guy who put out 2 first-round picks along with Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond to get Harden and Paul Millsap. And then on top of that, guys, here's what he did when he was getting James Harden the first time over from OKC. Look, again, you're going to see the commonality. This guy will give you picks. Look at this. He gave up, Houston got some players to come over, but he gave up to OKC. They received a 12th overall pick. They got Jeremy Lamb. They got Kevin Martin, who was a pretty good player at the time. They had 2 future first-round picks and a second-round pick in return. And so what I'm trying to say here, guys, is that essentially we are probably going to get some draft capital back if the Sixers are in that type of desperation mode. And from what I understand, the Sixers feel like they can build a super team this year. And from what I understand, the Sixers are wanting to do the most they can to maximize Joel Embiid. And look, with this particular vice president of operations with the Sixers, he has always wanted to go with a guard. You see where he's always gone out and got James Harden. Perhaps he thinks that Zach LaVine is going to be the difference maker. He wants to get an athletic playmaker to go with Tyrese Maxey, to go with Joel Embiid, and he's probably going to try to do something else to fill out that roster. But this would be an ideal situation, I think, for the Chicago Bulls, and I think that we get some assets back and we do not have to give up a whole bunch of assets. As far as a sign and trade with the Sixers, I think we're definitely going to have to get a third team to facilitate a little bit. I think that all the players that we would be interested in are free agents. Mo Bamba, you're looking at Kelly Oubre Jr. He's definitely a guy that is a free agent, but certainly I think would be a great fit over there. Buddy Hield is another guy. I'm not sure that we would want Tobias Harris over there. He is a free agent too, but not willing to pay him a whole bunch of money to come back over here and really not be consistent for us. So, but those are some players that I think the Chicago Bulls perhaps could go ahead and look at if they're going to do a sign and trade there with the Philadelphia 76ers. And again, we're not counting if another team were to jump in, if it were a Memphis or Orlando, even Golden State has been linked to us as well. But, that's the kind of situation I'm thinking that would be favorable for the Chicago Bulls. Next, when we look at DeMar DeRozan and his situation, there's a lot of pieces on the Clippers team that I like. For one, I feel like if we were able to get Bones Highland, I think that this guy is very interesting to me. Here's a guy that was with Denver. I can certainly see that our vice president of operations would definitely like to bring him over there. And here's a guy that I think could be very good in an expansive role. And I think he's a definite insurance policy for us if Lonzo Ball is not able to do anything close to what we're wanting him to do and need him to do to help elevate this team and move it in the right direction. So that's number one. I definitely like perhaps if we go out and get Terrence Mann. And again, these are hopeful. I'm not saying that the Clippers are going to give these players up, but Terrence Mann is a wing player who has shown that he is very versatile, helped them when they had a number of injuries, and he was able to step out there and really contribute. So I like this guy across the board. Really, he could do a lot of different things for you. Norman Powell, look, this is a guy that was right there in the Sixth Man of the Year award. Again, this guy is certainly a great scorer, but he defends pretty well too. So I like him for that. I love Amir Coffey coming off the bench. Like, I love him at 6'7". I think that is another possible wing player that we can absolutely use at this point in time. And their center Zubac. Here's another guy that I would love to have. Here's a guy that is going to get paint touches, terrific at the pick and roll. So you can imagine between him and Kobe White doing that pick and roll, I think he's going to eat a lot down there with that. And I think that he would definitely be able to go out there and rebound for us. And look, I wouldn't even mind starting him with Vooch at this point in time. If we still had Vooch on the team, like, I'd love to see us go big, and I'd love to have us have something where we're getting people that will go inside and actually get physical with some people there and not just shoot a whole bunch of three-pointers. So, those are a couple players. Now, the ideal fit for the Clippers, I think that it's a little bit of a tough fit because between DeMar and Kawhi, I think they occupy the same space. However, I think that it could work. I think that DeMar DeRozan is a guy that he's certainly not a selfish player. He is a team-oriented guy, and I think that he would be able to take a step back at times, even if it's in numbers or whatever the case may be, for the Clippers to continue winning. I could imagine that Ty Lue would definitely love to have this guy as a closer. I think that they're getting somebody that's probably a bit more consistent than Paul George. And I think that if they are to get into a playoff situation, I feel like that DeMar DeRozan certainly would help them as far as closing down things. He might actually be their main player, especially if they were to lose Kawhi Leonard again. So I think that would be huge for the Clippers. I think that they need a player like DeMar DeRozan if they strike out on Paul George, because they're moving into a new arena in Los Angeles, guys. And you can't go into a new arena and then have a losing team. All right. That's just not going to work out. And you also don't want to have a team that underperforms as well. And so, I think that this would address probably two things for the Clippers. For us, we move away from DeMar DeRozan, even though he's done nothing wrong for us. He's played extremely well. The numbers show that. But for probably the amount of money that he's going to command, he's also getting up there with age as well, guys. And so we don't want to get locked into a bad contract and be in really a tough situation like we are with Vooch at this point in time. So, I don't think we're going to get any draft capital back from the Clippers. I'm not sure that they even really have too much capital to give us. So I would say out of the two deals, guys, we should push and hope that the Sixers really strike out on Paul George and they definitely go all in on LaVine, and we get some draft capital out of that along with moving LaVine over. So that brings me to the end here, guys. So do you guys feel like that we should go ahead and make a trade with the Sixers? Do you guys feel like, as suggested, we would get some picks back and we're not going to have to attach any assets? Do you guys feel like the Clippers sign and trade would be a great situation? Do you feel like any of the players that I've mentioned, the Clippers might be interested in coming off those players in light of Paul George going elsewhere? So let me know what you guys think, even though we don't know what we're going to do. And it looks like we are getting ready to run it back. Yet again, I'm still saying go Bulls, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out, guys.